Can Donald Trump really change the future of the American trucking industry? The question is on many minds, as the industry faces one of its toughest times in history. But we feel the answer is yes. Trucking keeps the country moving, delivering everything from food to medicine, but now it's struggling. Freight rates are falling, insurance costs keep rising, and many small truckers are being pushed out in the race to the bottom. On top of that, some of the drivers do not fully understand the rules of the road, making safety a concern. A normal trucking down cycle lasts 18 to 24 months. This down cycle has reached over 3 years. When we turn the corner, a big reason will be because of how President Trump has handled the economy.
He's taking actions almost every day. You might not like the actions, but this guy is the leader. You know, unfortunately, the other guy had no idea what was going on around him with auto pens signing executive orders. I don't want to go there. I don't waste our time. But Trump's performance is phenomenal.
With all these problems, we believe Trump's policies offer a solution. His ideas focuses on fair trade, lowering insurance costs, fixing licensing issues, and making trucking safer and more fair for everyone. This is not just politics. It is about the future of millions of workers and the entire supply chain. Now let's dive in and see what his approach could mean for trucking and the nation. Before we go, don't forget to like and subscribe. When language barriers go unchecked, tragedy isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And on May 6, 2025, it did. Tragedy struck Thomasville, Alabama. A semi-truck slammed into 4 vehicles waiting at a stoplight, killing 2 people and injuring 4 others. The driver, 25-year-old Andre Dimturco, was in the US on a work visa and didn't speak a lick of English. When emergency responders arrived, they could not communicate with him. He could not describe what happened, follow their instructions, or call for help. That crash wasn't just tragic, it was preventable. I was 2 cars behind, said local resident Tracy Miller. I saw the truck coming and I knew it couldn't stop. It was like watching a nightmare unfold in slow motion. After the crash, he just stood there confused, panicked. The EMTs were shouting, but he couldn't understand a word. It was chaos. This is not an isolated incident. It's a part of a dangerous pattern playing out on highways across America. A growing number of drivers operating 80,000-pound rigs can't read critical signs, speak to law enforcement, or call for help in a crisis. And when seconds matter, that language gap can mean the difference between life and death. Now imagine thousands of similar drivers on our roads every day. It's not just a risk, it's a national safety emergency. That's why on April 28, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order requiring all commercial truck drivers in the U.S. to demonstrate English proficiency.
The only thing that's separating safe trips from deadly ones can be a simple road sign. These signs aren't suggestions, they're warnings. They save lives, but only if they're understood. That's why English proficiency behind the wheel isn't some bureaucratic requirement. It's life and death safety standard.
According to the Department of Transportation, drivers must be able to read essential signage, follow verbal instructions, and communicate effectively in emergencies. Those who fail will be placed out of service. The order sparked immediate controversy. Critics labeled it as exclusionary, but supporters argue the priority is safety, not politics. Because honestly, trucking isn't just about moving goods, it's about protecting lives. Understanding signs like merge left, low clearance, or hazardous spill ahead isn't optional. Communicating with dispatchers, highway patrol, or medics during a crash can't wait. Every moment counts. Trump's executive order directs the FMCSA to update testing standards, establish language support programs, and encourage compliance across all 50 states. And while opponents call it harsh, many industry experts say it's long overdue. Removing drivers who can't speak or read English will reduce accidents, improve emergency response times, and make American highways safer for everyone. Because when a driver can't read a stop sign or explain an accident, it's not just a liability, it's a ticking time bomb. The Thomasville crash made that heartbreakingly clear, and so did Fresno. So Trump's stance is firm. If you can't communicate, you can't operate. That's not just policy, that's protection. And in the meantime, the trucking industry is grappling with a crisis that is draining carriers from the inside out. Nuclear verdicts. These are jury awards exceeding $10 million, typically handed down in the aftermath of accidents involving commercial trucks. From 2010 to 2023, nuclear verdicts against trucking companies surged by an astonishing 967%. Average awards ballooned from 2.3 million to 22.3 million, and in 2023 alone, U.S. trucking firms were hit with 165 million in verdicts of this nature. The median payout for personal injury and wrongful death cases reached 23.8 million, and the number of verdicts exceeding 100 million soared to an all-time high of at least 23. Now, while some of these cases involve tragic outcomes and undeniable fault, others are the result of preventable gaps, the kinds that turn manageable incidents into financial catastrophes. A recurring theme in these trials is driver communication failures. When a jury hears that a driver couldn't read road signs, follow emergency instructions, or clearly explain themselves in court, perceptions of negligence just skyrockets. That's why President Trump's proposed executive order requiring English proficiency for all commercial drivers operating in the US is more than a symbolic gesture. It's a direct attempt to close one of the most dangerous cracks in the industry's legal armor. This concept isn't unprecedented. Aviation and rail industries already enforce language standards for safety, and obviously trucking with its scale and risks deserves the same. But the language is only one layer of the problem. The deeper threat lies in how modern legal teams exploit systemic weaknesses, such as gaps in safety protocols, inconsistent record-keeping, and outdated operational policies, to portray carriers as negligent, reckless, or indifferent. In today's courtroom, it's no longer enough to simply be compliant. Carriers must operate defensively, because plaintiff attorneys are armed with data analytics, jury consultants, and media-savvy strategies that can even spin minor oversights into a $20 million payout. The ripple effect is devastating. Insurance premiums are climbing across the board, especially for small and mid-sized carriers, which is the backbone of American freight, who are often just one lawsuit away from bankruptcy. Some insurance providers have exited the trucking space entirely. Others are demanding unsustainable rates, and it's not just about securing cheaper coverage. It's about building legal and operational resilience before disaster strikes. This crisis calls for industry-wide evolution. Carriers must rethink how they train and support drivers, enforce rigorous safety standards, and adopt smart technologies, not as luxuries but as essentials. Dash cams, ELDs, telematics, and real-time monitoring can provide the kind of documented evidence that defends against opportunistic litigation. If it's not recorded, it didn't happen. That's the brutal truth in a courtroom today. The most vulnerable companies are the ones still operating as if it's business as usual. The carriers that survive and thrive will be the ones that create a culture of accountability, where safety is not just a checklist but a part of the brand identity. And that means tightening hiring standards, documenting every inspection, tracking every training session, and treating every mile like it's being watched, because in many ways it is. President Trump's push for English proficiency is a necessary starting point. It aims to eliminate the chances of misconception-related accidents, improve safety outcomes, and lower the likelihood of jury-triggering scenarios. But for the broader picture, that must be paired with internal reforms, a shift from reactive compliance to proactive defense. Ultimately, this is about preserving the future of American trucking. The nuclear verdicts may be unpredictable, but its risks are no longer invisible. If the industry fails to adapt, it won't be individual carriers that collapse. It will be the entire freight economy that suffers. The time to prepare isn't after a lawsuit, it's now. And the defense starts long before the jury is ever seated. Now let's not pretend Trump's trade policies didn't hurt. They did. Tariffs triggered price hikes, supply chains rattled, companies like Walmart and Target scrambled to manage rising costs, and truckers, caught in the middle, felt the pressure. And the fallout is clear: reduced freight demand, fewer imports, and a slowing economy. The Institute for Supply Management April 2025 Purchasing Managers Index registered at 48.7%, signaling the contraction. A recent Reuters article titled "Trucking is Bleeding Now, But Why?" lays out the challenges bluntly. Dean Koch of DAT Freight and Analytics summed it up. Things have turned south in a hurry with this trade war. But here's the thing, this truly, in all honesty, is not destruction, but realignment. Tariffs are in fact forcing manufacturers to reshore production back to the US. As reported by CNBC, the shift is good news for the long haul of domestic freight demand. There's going to be more US-based manufacturing, which means more short-haul loads, more stable routes, and more and less reliance on unpredictable imports. Trump's goal was never short-term comfort. What he wants is long-term independence, reshoring, rebuilding supply chains, and putting America back in the driver's seat of its own economy.
And it is theoretical brilliance, because you're encouraging work and you are creating a
You mean
less.
the tax cuts?
When you cut taxes on income, you encourage people to work. You get to keep more of your money. And if you slightly tax imports of goods, you are discouraging consumptions of things that are made elsewhere. It is genius.
Now, when we weather this storm, the payoff will be seismic. There will be way more manufacturing jobs, a much stronger industrial base, and steadier freight volumes that are not at the mercy of volatile foreign markets. Yes, it is painful, I'm not gonna lie, but so is surgery. And this industry desperately needed one. Trump made it clear he is putting America first. It is an uncomfortable truth, and the reality is there are far too many trucks chasing too little freight. The dry van spot rate is stuck at a dismal $1.60 per mile, barely holding steady. And according to DAT, it has barely changed from last year's $1.54. This intense oversupply has forced carriers into a race to the bottom, cannibalizing each other just to stay afloat. Now here's the controversial perspective. When you remove non-English speaking drivers, what's essentially happening is an intentional contraction on supply. Applying basic supply and demand principles, fewer drivers on the road means tighter capacity. When capacity tightens, rates rebound more quickly. As shippers compete for limited trucking space, the spot market improves, and fleets stop undercutting each other to win business. Trump's proposed reforms, which is focused on enforcing stricter standards, cutting out unqualified labor, and reducing oversupply, is the much-needed market contraction. Higher rates translate into better pay for drivers, improved profits for carriers, and a genuine chance for struggling companies to survive and rebuild. As J.B. Hunt CEO Shelley Simpson put it, "I've never seen a freight recession last 3 years. Everyone's holding on. The only sustainable path forward is to let go of what's broken and create room for what works. By cutting out inefficiencies and unsustainable practices, the industry can finally breathe and begin to recover." So, to be blunt or candid, we gotta stop tiptoeing around the facts. Imports from China are declining. Domestic freight demand is slowing. The US manufacturing index is showing contraction. House rates are decreasing, and despite all of this, there is still an assumption that the old model of trucking supply chains will just continue to work as before. Reality is very different, everyone. Trump's reset, though it may be very complex and challenging, I'm not denying that, it is focused on one key goal: making America great again. He's done it before.
And we will make America great again. God bless you.
Policies around English language standards, trade reform, reshoring manufacturing, energy independence, and targeted deregulation all aim to create a more robust and self-reliant American supply chain. In safety-critical industries like aviation and rail, English fluency is a standard requirement. Trucking should be no exception. This approach is not anti-immigrant. It is pro-safety. Clear communication saves lives, reduces accidents, and helps protect the public. So what I'm saying is, it is time to stop prioritizing quantity over quality in the trucking industry. The focus should shift towards building a smaller, more skilled, and sustainable workforce. Stronger standards do not mean exclusion, but rather raising the bar for the entire industry. With fewer crashes, reduced insurance costs, and increased freight demand driven by reshored manufacturing, Trump's trucking plan will deliver the reset that the industry needs to become safer, more efficient, and more competitive in the long term. So, what if the tough medicine is exactly what trucking needs to survive? DAT's 2025 forecast shows flat volumes, flat rates, and flat morale. Truckload demand is weak. China imports are dropping, and spot markets are barely hanging on. And Trump's message has been super clear this entire time. Take the hit, take the pain now, or lose the war and everything later. Reforms are needed, and the message is louder than most can handle. And maybe that is what it takes to shake up the system. If we want safer roads, better pay, and fewer bankruptcies, this is the hard truth we must face. So here's a question for you. Are you willing to endure the turbulence today to save trucking tomorrow? Because if we keep doing the same thing, the crash will not just be local, it will be national and catastrophic. So let us know what you think. Can Trump save trucking? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below.